As sports history fans, we often reminisce about the legends. Willis Reed limping on to the NBA Finals court, Curt Schilling's bloody sock, Kerry Strug's courageous dismount, and so many more. These moments often define sports history. But what about the countless injuries that did not become legends, or careers that were derailed due to inadequate care? That's where this episode's sponsor comes in. Introducing to you, ILP Sports Consultants, your trusted sports injury partner, available 24/7. Brian Maelli at ILP Sports Consultants has over 20 years of experience in the orthopedic and sports medicine industry, and he has worked with athletes across the gamut, from youth to amateurs, professionals, in almost every sport played in the United States of America, accommodating athletes at every stage of their career. This adaptability ensures that ILP services are perfectly tailored to your skill level, no matter where you are in your athletic journey. With ILP, you are in control. Choose the steps that matter most to you. Diagnosis, treatment plan, recovery, or the whole journey. ILP services are tailored to your unique needs. Rushing for care is a common pitfall, leading to future problems. ILP Sports Consultants helps you make the right decisions, ensuring that you receive timely and safe care. And here's the bonus. Brian hosts the Injured List podcast, sharing insights and athlete stories you won't want to miss. Whether you're a concerned parent or grandparent, or an athlete yourself seeking guidance, ILP Sports Consultants is your beacon of hope in sports injury management. Visit ILPsports.com today. That's the letters ILPsports.com. ILP Sports Consultants, where your well-being is the priority and your recovery is the mission. Choose ILP Sports Consultants for a healthier sports journey, helping you get back in the game the smart way.
Blog Talk Radio.
Tonight we'll go back in time to seasons past, when 22 men graced the rugged fields of yesterday, fighting for one more first down, one more yard gain, one final score, which would bring victory after 60 minutes of battle on the gridiron. Tonight, we'll explore the world of Gridiron Greats. Welcome to Gridiron Greats Football History and Memorabilia, and the Gridiron Greats Television and Broadcasting Network, in conjunction with Swick Enterprises, and we're live from the Southport, North Carolina home, Gridiron Greats Magazine. I'm Bob Swick, publisher and editor of Gridiron Greats Magazine, and I'll be your host for the show. Gridiron Greats is the only publication in America which focuses upon the history and memorabilia of the North American football game since its inception in 1869. We'll cover 150-plus years of football history and memorabilia. Find us on the web at GridironGreatsMagazine.com. It is at this time I'd like to introduce my co-host, the senior contributing writer to Gridiron Greats Magazine of football, memorabilia, specializing in pre-World War II items, in particular Red Grange, and also Seattle Seahawk items, in particular Steve Largent. He hails from Portland, Oregon, Mr. Joe Squires. Joe, welcome to the show this evening.
I love it. Great to be back. Great to be back, Bob. Great to hear your football intro. Love it.
And welcome back, Joe. And before we get started, I have a somewhat a sad piece of news to announce. Not all our listeners will know this person, but I felt compelled to say it on the air. Longtime paper and sports memorabilia dealer from Connecticut, Ed Ransom, who owned Memories by Paper, very, very active in the New England show circuit. Passed away this past week. He was 84. I knew Ed for probably 30 years in the business, beginning in the late 80s. And I haven't talked to him in quite a few years. I knew he pretty much got out of the business about 5-6 years ago completely. He had incredible actual paper, newspapers, things of that nature, historical documents, not just sports stuff, but he was very, very active in the sports hobby, in the show circuit, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts, and in New York. So our condolences to the Ransom family. Talk about a pretty big issue of GG, number 76, which just came out. And I've been kind of, in a way, taken back by the amount of comments, critiques I've got over a few things. And in particular, I'm going to lead off by talking about John Spano's article in his new column that he is going to be writing each issue from behind the table. And very, very, very interesting comments. I would say 100% of people I've talked to about it agree with literally everything he said in his column. And it's a nice reaction to get your thoughts, comments, views of that column.
You know, Spano, just a longtime friend, amazing writer. He and I have written a couple of articles for GG together. I just love the guy to death. And just the insight he's had setting up as, you know, MSB, BST over the years, a lot of times with the Gridiron Greats and a John Adams or Josh Adams cards, you know, set up on either end, flanking them. The couch coming in, just John has, you know, between him and Andy, just the experience, you know, a decade of setting up shows and probably longer than that, walking shows. It was really good. I mean, I wish we could have him on the show more often as a guest, but I know you don't like his accent. You found it to be very unbecoming. So, but the key to what John wrote about, in my opinion, and I think this pretty much summarizes it. There has to be, in any type of transaction, satisfaction on both sides. For example, your business, you can't do a job for nothing and then be satisfied at the end of the job when you're losing money on your parts you're using, your labor, so on and so forth. So if we apply the same theory to sports memorabilia, the dealer and the collector or the other dealer who's buying the material both have to be satisfied. And there has to be some reasonableness as far as pricing is concerned. I think, you know, my honest opinion, going back to shows in the late 80s and early 90s, was beat up the dealer as much as you possibly could. Get anything and anything you could get as cheap as possible, and then claim victory when you walked out of the show. And I don't like that. I mean, it doesn't really make sense. I really don't think, especially when people go to a national sports collectors convention, they don't realize how much a dealer is spending to set up there, to stay there, for food, for all the different components that go into setting up at a show. And your cost of inventory on top of it. So now you're bringing, let's say you bring $5,000 worth of inventory to your show. Do you want to sell it for $2,000 just to satisfy people that say, okay, you know, we got to beat you up and we got to make money, you know, we want to make money off of you, so we're not going to give you in any way, shape, or form value for what you have. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't work that way. So it's an issue, and I think John eloquently really, you know, told it like it was and like it is. And hopefully somebody, you know, if we change one person and make them think a little differently when they go to a show, I think, you know, it's done its job. It's done its purpose. So I applaud him. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I know people who I used to, you know, hang out with a guy used to know a guy on the PSA boards back whenever who
was ex-military who considered every transaction like a military encounter. He's like, I have to win. I have to buy it at the lowest and sell it at the highest. And I swooped several deals from him simply because I was fair and nice. I'd much rather have that reputation than being the person who beats up a dealer. But you're spot on. It's a lot of costs. Not the cost to go there, the drive, the hotel room, the food. That doesn't even take into account, the 9 or 10 hours of standing on your feet, talking to customers. It's an ordeal. It must be exhausting. You've set up at shows, Bob. I've just walked them. I mean, I'm tired of walking them.
I've been doing. I did my first show basically in 1987, and I've been doing them ever since, except for the past couple of years, with no shows going on. But people don't realize what's actually involved. I'm prepping now for the National Atlantic City, and it's just turning into a logistics nightmare for me for the simple reason I got to get there. It's a much longer ride from here than it was from Connecticut. But more importantly, I'm astounded at seeing the hotel rates and how high they went up since the last National Atlantic City. I mean, you're looking at some places are $400 or $500 a night for a hotel. So I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. So again, I look at the National more so as a social event for me, meeting all the friends and dealer friends I've made over the years. But at the same time, people who are trying to do this for a living, I really feel bad for them, at least.
Yeah.
And we also, getting back to the magazine, we also got a lot of great feedback on your article because I know I had two people in particular saying that they love reading about oddball football sets. They want to see more of that. And I said, we're working on it for future issues, and hopefully we'll satisfy your
Agree. Agree. You and I can fill an entire 60-minute show talking about John Spano, but we got to move on. I literally read the entire Gridiron Greats laying in bed, before falling asleep, with my wife, and I read it stem to stern, and I turned to her and I'm like, this was probably one of the best Gridiron Greats I've ever read. Every article was good. Your intro, I always love reading your intro. The Forrest Gregg, number 75, Righting a Wrong, was incredible. And what a nod to an amazing coach, an amazing player, Forrest Gregg. Martin Jacobs always writes an amazing article. His article on John Madden, I learned so much about Madden, and just what a great representation of football. Madden was and has been. I mean, and tip of the hat to Martin for writing that. Garo, your Premium article was great. I mean, front to back, it was awesome. I mean, I loved my article, and I remember sending to him, like, this is going to be fun. I have just the right amount of fun in here, and et cetera. And I was like, man, I'm like the third best article in this magazine. It was stacked. It was stacked, Captain. It was good.
That was a good article because I personally did not know a lot about that set. Like I said to you before, I'd never even seen one in a show before, and I've only seen pictures of the cards. I've never seen a card in person. So, anyways, it was a great article. We also want to touch a little bit about a few auctions, and you're going to fill us in on that now.
Yeah, a couple auctions firing off right now. Heritage and what I refer to as the perpetual auction going off. Some really interesting stuff. Boy, is it just me, or does it seem like Heritage has always just got that? Anyways. Yeah, a huge collection of Super Bowl rings from early Super Bowls on to onto recent ones. They've got a Seattle Seahawks Super Bowl 48 ring in there that I'm I got an early ping on, I'm watching, and I'm like, man, your favorite team and your one Super Bowl win. Man, I would love a ring for that, but how much do you want to drop on that nostalgia? And then Memory Lane popped on an auction about a week ago. Opened it up. That is incredible. It's got some incredibly high end. I don't know whose collection this was. I asked somebody and they knew them. Apparently, it's somebody who passed away from COVID, who early on in the pandemic. But There's a 1948 Leaf baseball wax pack, one of one. I mean, just
Wow.
48.
Wow.
I have forever been looking for a 48 Leaf football pack, and apparently I've never seen one. And apparently the baseball's just as rare. I don't like to talk about that little white ball that they throw and hit with a stick very often, but this memory lane auction is deserving of a nod. I mean, a PSA 833 Gaudi set that is just incredible. It's auction porn for sure, but what an amazing auction. Just some incredible stuff.
Amazing things that are available, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming to the market over the next year or two. Again, as older collectors retire or pass, those pieces have to be handed down in the hobby. We need new collectors to continue to collect. And again, the only way we can bring new collectors into the hobby, we have to educate them, we have to help them, we have to nurture them. And again, I hope, I know we do that in our small group, in our small area of the hobby, especially when it comes to football. So it's important. It's very important. But again, hats off to everybody who contributed to this past issue of Gridiron Greats magazine. Martin Jacobs and I, go back quite a few years. I appreciate everything Martin's done for the magazine, and we got a very dedicated staff. And again, I am not becoming a millionaire by publishing Gridiron Greats magazine. I tell people that all the time. It's a costly endeavor. It's an endeavor of the hobby. And that's the way I look at it. All right, our special guest is here tonight, and I'd like to welcome him to the show. He was last on our show on July 16th, 2020, and he was also the super collector in Gridiron Greats magazine, issue number 71. He's a math teacher at a community college in southern Kentucky where he lives with his wife, Jennifer, and with whom he shares 4 children and 2 grandchildren. In his spare time, he's an avid amateur photographer and enjoys reading, writing, and playing games. He's been a sports fan all his life and became interested in the NFL after college when he took a job as a reporter at a newspaper in Georgetown, Kentucky, where the Cincinnati Bengals were holding training camp at the time. He covered the Bengals camp that summer and got involved in the fantasy football league with some friends at the newspaper, and it's all forward from there. I'd like to welcome Mr. Jason Dooley. Jason, welcome back to the show.
Thanks, guys. How's it going? Can you hear me?
We're good. Yep.
Doing very good, Jason. Welcome back, sir.
Oh, thanks a lot. It's great to be back. Always enjoy talking to you guys.
Jason, if you can fill in our audience again, how did you become interested in football and in collecting?
Well, so when I was a kid, I started collecting baseball cards with my little brother, and we collected. I'm from Southern Kentucky. I've lived here all my life, and our favorite team was the Cincinnati Reds. So we collected Reds cards, and then when I went off to college, I kind of dropped out of it, moved on to other hobbies and so on. And then 2 or 3 years ago, a friend of mine who owned a gaming store, someone came in and wanted to sell a couple of Tom Brady rookie cards, and he bought them for little or nothing at the time and gave them to me as a birthday present because he knew I was a big NFL fan, and that sort of sparked my interest again, and so I started collecting then, and that's been 2 or 3 years now.
That was in Kentucky, or in where was that at?
In Kentucky, yeah. Close by where I live, yeah.
Oh, very cool. That's very thoughtful.
Yeah, I mean, like at the time, the cards were, $15-20. So, that was before COVID, obviously, and before really the prices exploded on everything Tom Brady. But, so it was just fortuitous.
You know what? It takes one kind gesture like that to kickstart someone back into collecting. My sister gave me an autographed Steve Largent 89 Pacific card, and for Christmas in 1999, and it drug me right back into it. It was a very thoughtful, very kind gift. really cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And Jason, you could also look at saying that you have now a retirement fund with your Brady cards that you got. That's where you can look at.
I have a lot of Tom Brady cards. I'm up to 12 rookie cards and almost 1,500 different cards of Brady at this point. So I have quite a few.
Hold on there, Jason. When you say Tom Brady rookie card, there's about 100 of them that raise their hand and stake that claim. What do you consider to be the Tom Brady rookie card?
I probably like my favorite one that I have is the Bowman, and the Bowman Chrome is sort of my dream card, but the prices on it have gotten so much higher even since I started collecting that I don't know that that's ever going to be in my price range. I mean, the like contenders and things like that are wildly popular, but I kind of am there's some nostalgia in me for old Topps cards, so I got to go with the Bowman.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, the Bowman Chrome seems to be the popular one. I like the Crown Royal. No, I'm just kidding. But the SP seems to be seems to be the one, followed closely by the Bowman Chrome.
Yeah, well, like there's only a few, like the Bowman and the Bowman Chrome and the SP and the contenders are the only ones that have him in his Patriots uniform. Like all the others, he's in like a Georgia uniform or a Senior Bowl uniform or that kind of thing. So I guess that's why those cards are particularly popular.
Nice. I mean, you gave a story of how you kind of got started. How you became interested in football. How'd you get started? I mean, and specifically New England. I mean, because I collect Seattle Seahawks because I'm from the Pacific Northwest here.
Yeah. So when I was 10 years old, the first professional football game I ever really watched. My dad was a high school football coach, and I watched sports with him all the time. Like I remember watching the Miracle on Ice in 1980 when I was 5 with my dad, But the first football game I ever remember watching was the 1985 AFC Championship game between the Patriots and the Dolphins. And the Patriots were like this total upstart at the time. And, they got creamed in the Super Bowl 2 weeks later or whatever. But I just latched onto them as my team. The coach that year was Raymond Berry. And I thought, I was 10 in my defense. I thought his name was Raymond Berry. I thought that was like his last name, like Strawberry, but Raymond Berry. Oh. And so I had actually read a book that I was in 4th or 5th grade at the time, and there was a book in the library in my classroom called like Great Pass Receivers of the NFL or something like that. And it had a chapter about this Baltimore Colts player named Ray Berry. And I didn't know it was the same person for a long time. I thought that the Patriots coach was someone whose last name was Raymond Berry. So,
Now I got to throw out my usual statement here. Back in 1976, we used to drive to Schaefer Stadium the day of a game and actually purchase tickets. And we would go to the game. My mother would make us, my buddy and I would make, she would make us a few sandwiches and buy some soda, some chips. We eat in the car on the way up there, and we'd go to the game, and we would try to be out by the third period because there was only one way into Schaefer Stadium and one way out. The traffic jams were incredible, and I'm talking like 3-4 hour traffic jams. So that was always my claim to fame with the Patriots. And going to see a game up there to say it was a challenge was incredible. So
the Patriots were banned from Monday Night Football for a long time because the fans were so obnoxious on Monday nights. They caused so many disturbances that the police in and around Foxborough asked the NFL not to schedule them on Monday night games. So that was a different era for sure.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. It was at Schaefer Stadium too. Was all it was like benches. There was no actual seats. There were some seats close to the field,
Yeah, it was a ribbon bench. It was the hardest bench known to mankind you would sit on. If it was cold weather, it was even worse. It would really, basically freeze your butt when you would sit on the bench there. So I remember many games. In fact, I remember one preseason game we went to, August of '76. They played the Eagles. I don't think there was 5,000 people in the stadium. It's that many. So we had nosebleed seats, and we just walked down. Like at the end of the first quarter, we were on the 50-yard line. It was pretty cool, and nobody bothered you back then, that type of thing.
Sure.
And that was the first game we actually stayed late, and we said, "Oh, this isn't bad." We got out of there a reasonable amount of time driving back home. But at the same time, we went to a game on a Sunday, and it was like we didn't, we left the stadium at 4:00. We didn't get home till like midnight. It was like an 8-hour drive home, which should only have been like 2.5, 3 hours out the most. It was crazy. But, good memories of Schaefer Stadium in Foxborough there, to say the least.
Now, I've never been to a game.
Oh, you never? That's right. You've never been there, right? You've never been there, right?
No, that's on my bucket list. My son and I are planning to go to a game. We actually were going to Foxborough to visit in the off season. We were going to go to the Hall of Fame, and then COVID happened, and so we had to cancel that trip. So that's been pushed back. We're still waiting on that, but one of these days we'll get up there.
Yeah, it's cool. I have not been to the new stadium. All my memories are in Schaefer Stadium, mid-late 70s into the early 80s, so when I stopped going there. So that's pretty cool. Now, I know, Jason, we were talking beforehand, before we had you on. You got into something slightly different, or you picked up some new items for your collection. Why don't you expand that and tell our audience about that? Well,
I definitely have more Tampa Bay Buccaneers cards in my collection now than I did a couple of years ago. With Brady and Gronk going to Tampa, so that's been weird. I mean, I feel like if you're a Patriots fan and you're mad at Tom Brady, you're doing it wrong. But it's definitely been weird to watch him play in different colors, after 2 decades in New England. So that's been one thing that's changed a lot. And I've also, in the past couple of years, of course, the Patriots have almost completely, there's been such a huge turnover in their roster. So, there's been a lot of new players, some who stayed and some who didn't last as long. But I've really added a lot of cards of Cam Newton to my collection. And I've been working on, Corey Dillon is another player who I've always had a soft spot for. When I was, you mentioned in the intro, I was a reporter. I covered Bengals training camp in 2000. And I was fresh out of college, basically, and had never done anything like that before. And Corey Dillon had kind of a reputation of being kind of a curmudgeon. He didn't really like being in Cincinnati, which, I mean, who can blame him, and he had been the best player on a bad team.
Jason, he was kicked out of Oregon, where I have a season ticket holder, for punching a Boise State player after losing the season opener. I would say he's that's not quite.
Yeah, but he was really, I had to interview him after a preseason game, an inter-squad game in training camp, and the Bengals were terrible. He was the best player by far on this awful team that was clearly going nowhere. They had bad coaching, they had bad front office, and he was so kind to me and answered every question I had, and really, that made me a fan, I respected him as a player, but he was just, he didn't have to do that. He didn't have to, this kid, and I'm sure I did about 10 million things wrong, but so I've always been a big Corey fan. I was really happy for him when he got traded or paroled to New England, or however you say that,
I like
the Bengals were a bad team for quite a long time, and I can see,
he added a lot of class to that team, and I think we briefly talked about it the last time you were on. I already said they could have really made the team around him if they wanted to, but I think he had just had that preconceived persona about him that they didn't want to deal with him. So why do you have him on? Why do you have him on the team for? I mean, those doesn't make any sense to me. You know,
he's a beast.
He was gaining 1,800 yards a year behind terrible lines, and just getting pounded, and they weren't putting any talent around him. Like I said, you couldn't really blame him for being miserable.
Right.
No, Corey Dillon, he was amazing at Oregon, and I remember when he punched that Boise State player. I was like, dang it, come on, dude, we needed you. So he crushed it in New England. A good running back.
Didn't LeGarrette Blount do something like that at Oregon too?
Oh shoot! Oh my gosh, I absolutely screwed that up. I apologize. I'm
okay. I'm sorry. I didn't mean
about LeGarrette Blount.
Yeah, I was like, I remember a story about that about LeGarrette Blount. I don't remember one about Dillon, but.
No, I absolutely got that mixed up. I apologize, Jason. Corey Dillon was with Washington State.
15-yard penalty for Joe now. 15-yard penalty for Joe.
Yeah, Corey Dillon was with Washington State.
Confusion on players.
Player confusion. College player confusion. Yeah. But I remember him tearing up Oregon. I mean, you have a lot of Pac-12 running back history, I guess. You just mentioned a few things. You're collecting other players. I mean, you had a lot of Tampa Bay player, cards in the last year since Brady and Gronk switched over. I mean, is that the main changes in your collection? I mean, as things, move along, as your collection matures, what else are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the vintage and the I've filled out a lot of the sort of gaps I was missing the last time I talked to you guys. I've pretty much finished all of the 60s run of Patriots from mainstream sets. So one thing I've started branching out into a little bit more is sort of oddball sets and, the regional issues and things like that. I've kind of moved a little more into 90s and 2000s. That's sort of been where my focus is on. For one thing, the prices of new product has just gone so high that it's almost just untenable. It's I don't want to pay $1,000 for a box of cards with 20 cards in it. It's absurd.
Yes,
I don't know how it's a sustainable business model at this point. I don't know how it corrects itself either. So it's weird.
A recession of some sort.
Well, I say this all the time. Last fall, when we came down here, I was buying packs at the local Big Lots store here, and my price point was first $5, then it went up to $6. Okay. So I see there they have packs of Mosaic, whatever that is, for $12 a pack. Now, I'm in a cut-rate retail store where people are looking for a bargain. Who in the store who's shopping there is going to spend $12 on a pack of cards? Conversely, how many people were actually buying the $5 and $6 packs of the Playoff or whatever brand it was that I bought from Panini? It seems like every week when I went back there, it's pretty much I was the only one buying anything because I saw all the same packs there, and everything was the display was the same. They weren't pushing. In other words, they weren't filling it to the peak that they could, and see it clean out by the end of the week. You know what I mean? So I agree with you. It's a bad business model, and who is actually buying this stuff? I mean, it doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't. It takes the fun out of opening a pack of cards too. So
yeah,
it's
I agree.
Crazy.
I mean, these higher end prices, Panini One, which I think is kind of a cool idea for a product where you get like one encased card and it's usually autographed or something like that. But, you know, the price is like 2 years ago, it was $150 for one card, which is a lot, which is absurd. But now it's $600 or $700. It's like, what? How can this be reasonable? Like, who wants to open this pack at this point? So I don't know. You know, I guess it's working because they're not changing it, but we'll see.
Yeah, gone are the days of, you know, walking down to the 7-Eleven with, you know, $1 and, you know, buying 4 packs for a quarter. I mean, it's just it you know, Bob and I've talked about this in nauseam. I mean, it drives it drives the kids, the future of the, you know, the hobby out of the market. So
yeah, there aren't any young people. Like, I don't think it's really weird, for better or for worse.
Yeah.
Now,
You're what kind of oddball sets? I'm just curious. Collecting with the patch there.
So I've gotten kind of into stickers, like from the 80s and 90s, of the old Top sticker collections. I picked up some of those. Like, I got into, for a while I was collecting, like, I'm finished this up now, but like I was getting autographed photos from all the Super Bowl wins for the Patriots. But I've got that. I've got like Malcolm Butler, and I've got Vinatieri from 36, and Gronk from 51, and Belichick from 39. And so I've gotten, you know, I've sort of moved to the, like, instead of just like buying cards to put in my albums, I'm like working on like decorating my man cave and so on, that kind of thing. That's been where my interest has sort of gone, especially in the past year. Like I said, since the price explosion has really taken hold, and not only has the, like you were talking about, like you can find cards at Big Lots. In the area where I live, it's impossible to find cards at retail stores. Even if you wanted to pay the prices, they're just not available. And so you can't just like go and buy cards to open for fun because you can't find them. And I don't know, it does take some of the fun out of the hobby, that, you know, that excitement of opening something you haven't seen before. Like, I'm kind of excited about, you know, Fanatics has bought the license to all the major sports leagues and has sort of promised to bring that part of collecting back as one of their goals. So I'm hoping they can do that. And, you know, maybe that will be a thing in the future. But right now, it's really difficult.
Yeah, I still maintain that they should. I hope they come back with like a 5-card pack for like $1 or $2 in the dollar stores or in Walmarts, and have the kids, you know, it's an impulse buy, and probably more adults will buy it because it brings back memories. But at the same time, it generates sales and it generates interest in the hobby. And I think that, you know, I'm not interested in spending $12 on a mosaic pack of 10 cards. I think that's crazy. You know what I mean? So
sure. You know, the first pack, when I was in 1986, I started collecting baseball cards because I was at Kmart one day with my uncle, and they had a box of cards by the register, and I bought a pack for 35 cents, and that started like a 10-year hobby for me. But now, I mean, what kid is like, I'm going to go into Walmart and buy this $20 blaster or $50 mega box or whatever? Like, I don't know who those cards are being sold to, really.
And then be shoved over by a bunch of adults who are running, chasing after the Topps delivery guy. Yeah,
exactly. And then immediately trying to flip the packs online for 3 times what they paid, which I don't begrudge anybody making money if that's what they want to do. But it's like, why are you paying $150 for a pack that is worth $50 at retail, MSRP? You know, it's just it's strange.
Yeah, the genie's out of the bottle with that one. I'm afraid it's not going to go back in. So, well, Jason, speaking of being lucky enough to, buy wax packs cheap and, have, Tom Brady cards, today is your lucky day. So I'd swing by that Walmart and see if they've got some new boxes that they mispriced, because I put together a Joe quiz for you today.
Okay.
And if you're familiar with these are meant to be fun. They're meant to poke fun at yours and mine respective favorite teams. And
right. I love the Joe quiz.
Ultimately, our goal is to get a laugh out of Bob. That's what we're here for.
All right.
See, right there. That's one. All right. The Joe quiz. Question number 1. And there are right answers here, so go with your gut, and I have the answer key right here, Jason. So, all right.
I will do my best.
Question number 1. Who's the better coach? Pete Carroll at New England in 97 to 99, or Pete Carroll at Seattle 2010 to present?
Well, I got to go with Pete Carroll in Seattle, although I will say the years since Super Bowl 49 have not been kind to him. So, for whatever reason. I don't know. Can I ask you a question? What do you think of Russell era for the Seahawks?
Well, hey, Jason, when I come on your podcast, you can ask me questions.
Okay, all right.
Talking about Pete Carroll, I had the pleasure of watching him as coach of the Jets and of the Patriots, and to me, it was painful, to say the least. He was brutal. He was brutal with the New York media, which any coach in New York, you got to deal with the media. You just got to expect it. But to hear him in New York, and I mean, I used to read the New York Post Sports daily for 30 plus years. They would just chew him up, beat him up, chew him up, spit him out, and then he goes to New England on top of it. I mean, it was just comical. It was just comical. So in a way, I was happy he went to the opposite coast. So I really wouldn't hear about him anymore, or I would only see him a few times a season for games or whatever. But that's a good comparison, Joe, to say the least.
Yeah, and I ditto. I remember when we hired Carroll. I'm a Pac-12 guy. I'm an Oregon Ducks fan, so I'm very familiar with Pete Carroll at USC. We play USC every year, and I wasn't very happy with the hire in 2010. I remember I was like, dang it. We had Pete, Bill Cowler was just let go. Chucky Dahl was out there. I mean, we had a lot of good coaches, and I was like, Pete Carroll, come on. But the man delivered, so there he is.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
It's weird.
The answer to that.
Oh, sorry.
The answer to that question, by the way, Jason, was Pete Carroll, head coach, Seattle Seahawks, 2010 to present, is the better coach.
Oh, good. So I got that one right. That's good.
The ultimate goal in this game is to win Hoist Lombardi trophies over your head, and he did that. So there you go. Okay, question number 2. Again, take your time here, think this through. Super Bowl 49 MVP. We all know it was Tom Brady, but really, who should Super Bowl 49 MVP? Who should it have been? A, Malcolm Butler, or B, Pete Carroll for calling that slant pass?
Well, I'm going to go, C. It should have been Marshawn Lynch, because they should have just handed him the ball and he runs in and wins the game, right? But it should have been, after that, it should have been Tom Brady. Tom Brady was right. But,
the MVP usually goes to the winning team. I think there's been once where the losing team was the Super Bowl MVP. Wasn't it Chuck Howley? So
right. Super Bowl 5.
The Patriots won this one, therefore they got the MVP. Their MVP was Tom Brady. But really, without Malcolm Butler intercepting, there is no win. There is no MVP. So should it have been Malcolm Butler as the MVP, or should it have been Pete Carroll for calling that slant pass?
Well, it's true. Without Malcolm Butler, they don't win that game. But, they were down 10 at the beginning of that fourth quarter. No one mentions this.
Against the number one defense. Against the number one defense in the NFL.
And at the time, no team had ever come back from 10 points after the first quarter to win the Super Bowl. And Brady just shredded the Legion of Boom for 15 minutes. So, if he doesn't do that, Malcolm Butler's irrelevant. There's no choice to run the ball. They just run it out.
That's why I've never been a fan of the prevent defense. Okay, so the spirit of these questions is to have fun. Obviously, I'm poking fun at Pete Carroll for calling that slant.
Right.
Not very happy with that. Think of all the memes that went around back when this happened. Pete Carroll, I'd hand you these fries, but instead I'm going to throw them to you at the car, through the car window, kind of thing. All right. Okay. Question number 3 again. We're having fun here. Question number 3. The best outfit worn by Coach Belichick. Is it A, his gray New England Patriots hoodie with sleeves, or is it B, his gray New England Patriots hoodie without sleeves, partially unzipped?
It's definitely B. It's remarkable that any coach can have the kind of success Belichick has had while dressed like a hobo. I got to say. I got to go B.
Couldn't agree more. When you've hoisted as many Lombardi trophies as Belichick has, and your nickname is Hoodie, that's not good.
Yeah.
Bob, what was Vince Lombardi's nickname?
What was his nickname?
Yeah. Did he have one?
Not really. I mean,
Not really.
He was called a lot of different things. But he was a well-dressed man on the sidelines.
Absolutely.
Something.
Absolutely.
That Bill Belichick really, exhibits the dress-down look of the NFL.
Yes.
And when he has the wife beater, no sleeve hoodie on, I think he's in his own zone. So I think he coaches better with it, in my opinion.
What was Lombardi's nickname? It was winning. Winning was his nickname. Super Bowl wins was his nickname. Championship.
Winning.
Vinny Champion was his nickname. Not Hoodie. All right, which leads me to question number 4. Jason, are you ready? You stoked?
I'm ready.
Okay. Earlier I hinted that the ultimate goal of this game is to hoist a championship trophy above your head. Bill Belichick has done that more than any other coach in history. So with that, I lead into my question. Who is the best coach in NFL history? Is it A, Bill Belichick, or B, Vince Lombardi? Bob, you can chime in here if you want.
I mean,
well, this is like tying 2 cats' tails together and watching them fight. I love it.
I think
I got to say Belichick because I think it's harder to win now. But, I mean, Lombardi, it's harder to have the kind of sustained success that Belichick has had over the last 20 years than it was during the Lombardi era. But what Lombardi did in Green Bay and then in Washington at the end of his career was truly remarkable, too. So, at the end of the day, it's hard.
There's going to be coaches for all eras. I think the modern day era is definitely Belichick because he still finds ways to win. You could question some of his methods and methodology. That's going to be argued all the time. Lombardi was a true coach in the sense that he did it his way or it was the highway, and that's it. So he exhibited the tendencies, the characteristics of a classic coach of the 1950s and the 1960s. Yeah. He did have trouble adapting at the end of his career to all the changes going on in society and whatever. And sadly, he died before he really was able to enjoy his victories. And that's I think part of his myth and part of his legend. Belichick is 70 years old. He's still coaching. You know what I mean? Can you imagine if Lombardi coached till he was 70? That kind of thing. So I think each coach was the best in their era. I don't think anyone's going to duplicate Belichick in the future. I really can't see that. That's my opinion, And I think Belichick just wants one more ring, and he's going to follow. That's my gut feeling. He wants to prove to the world he can win without Brady.
Yes.
So
I think he wants to pass
mission.
Shula. Like I think he wants more wins than Don Shula. Yeah, I think that he'll retire after he passes him. And it's like if he averages, I think 8 over the next 4 years, he'll pass Shula. So I think that's what he's. I think that's the goal now.
I don't know. Something says to me he wants one more ring and to show the world can win without Brady. I get that with the Shula thing, but I just got that feeling with him. And again, the man is a coaching genius. I don't take anything away from him. I mean, you talk about football 24/7, 365. Like me, he is that times 5. You know what I mean? He is out there. There's not a waking moment.
I agree.
Not thinking of something, some tactic, some change in a play, some slight movement of a player to get that advantage. That to me is the beauty of football, because it's a big chess match out there where you're battling among 22 people, 22 men, trying to again just get that one more point score so you're victorious. That's what it's all about. It's about winning. You can feed me all the garbage you want about, a good game or whatever. Unless you win, it's meaningless. It's meaningless. Don't tell me you lost the game. I don't want to hear it. You know what I mean? That's
right.
just the way I feel about it.
I remember the story about Belichick a few years ago where they were playing. I can't remember what team it was, but he had watched film and figured out that this one offensive lineman, if he held his foot, turned one of his feet a certain way, it was going to be a pass play or a running play. Like that kind of attention to detail. I think that level of obsession, that's what's made him as good as he is. And he would have been that good. Obviously you can't separate how good he was with how much Brady meant to the team, because it took both of them at the height of their powers. But I do think there was something special about both of them,
Yep.
Oh yeah. I don't deny
I don't know what happened.
And Brady's a great quarterback, so
Yep.
It is.
And I
give him a lot
don't know
of
what
credit
happened
for
in that
his age.
relationship.
So playing,
why Brady decided to leave, but you said Hoodie wants to prove he can win without Brady, and vice versa. There's a reason Brady went somewhere else. It's but the two of them. It's like the Beatles. Who's the better songwriter, Lennon or McCartney? I don't think they cared. What eventually broke them up was outside sources. I mean, who was the Yoko Ono of the Patriots that caused them to not re-sign Brady? Was it his contract? No, because they went out and got Cam Newton and paid him nearly as much, or about half as much. I guess $10 million to a team that size. But I don't know. I mean, so Brady went off and proved it. Can he win without Hoodie? Obviously, he can at the highest level. I mean, and look how the Patriots did for the next few years. It's tough, but there's a football card of John Unitas, 1973 as a Charger. Everybody starts to lose their peak performance at some point. How many wins away is Belichick from Shula? I actually didn't even think about that.
I think it's something like 30.
Okay.
It's close. It's like I said, if he averages, I believe, of 8 for the next 4 or 5 years, he'll pass Shula.
Yeah,
okay.
He'll pass. I think and if he has a really good season, he's that much further ahead. You know what I mean? Because he had that one really bad season that put him back. So whatever.
Well, even that season, I mean, they went 7-9. It wasn't like they went 2-15 or something. They're not the Jets.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they didn't do very good at the draft this year, so we'll see. We'll see how they go. I love the guy. I tip my hat to him. To me, he's one of the, is he the best ever? Different eras. It's like saying, is Tom Brady better than Bart Starr? It's different eras. They're both incredible in their era. That's it. To me, there's only one indisputable GOAT, and it's Jerry Rice, although Tom Brady is certainly up there. In today's, penalty happy, put bubble wrap around the quarterback era, Tom Brady's racked it, so I think we're seeing the best. But anyways, well, I think we got a little too cerebral on my quiz. Usually I'm funnier, but the only head-to-head thing that we've had has been that Super Bowl. So a couple of my questions revolved around that. So, well done, Jason. I'm going to give you a 75% on that. Yeah, I think you did pretty good.
All right, fair enough. I'll take it. Thank you,
Jason. As we're winding down the show, one more question for you. Any advice for a beginning collector in our hobby?
I think, I think I said this the last time I was on, and I think it's still true. Just, collect things that make you happy. Don't worry so much about value. If you turn it into, if you're just chasing dollars, it's not going to be as much fun. Just collect things that make you happy and that you love, and that's how to enjoy it.
Sounds great. Good advice. Jason, thanks for being on the show tonight. It was great catching up with you on your collection. Good luck on your new areas you're collecting. I'm sure you'll have more than enough cards to try to find, especially if you're going into the 90s and the turn of the century cards up to today. I mean, there's just so many cards out there. It's not even funny. It's crazy. Truly crazy.
Thanks again, guys. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Take care. We're back. We've got a few minutes left. And first thing, again, I will reiterate. If you're not a subscriber to Gridiron Greats magazine, what are you waiting for? Check out our website, gridirongreatsmagazine.com. 2-minute warning, wrap up, and hand off to you. What'd you pick up on tonight's show?
Man, I thought my questions were pretty good, Bob, but all right. We got a little too cerebral with them. Who is the best coach in NFL history? Yeah, especially when I'm putting two of the greatest up against, and we have two super fans on each side of that. So I guess my 2-minute takeaway is, man, I tip my hat to the greatest publisher that I know, Gridiron Greats, Bob Swick. Well done on 76. Can't wait to see what 77 is. I'm working on an article for that. I'm really reinvigorating my writing. It's kind of funny. I kind of try and go for that, 3-pager, and reading like, Martin Jake was mad and, et cetera. I'm like, okay, maybe I should, elaborate a little bit. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit.
That'd be great. The oddball area of football cards, in my opinion, is still well overlooked in the hobby. It's still misunderstood in the hobby. And again, we've written about so many different sets over the years. There's just a wealth of knowledge on them that you're not going to get in your big Beckett book if you buy it every year. And you're going to find out and see if there's a favorite team or favorite player featured in that. And, in your case, the Fred Meyer Seahawks, great example. If you're a Seahawks fan, it's a no-brainer. You should be collecting all the, the Orwee, the Fred Meyer, the Nollies, all those cards and all those individual team sets. Those are great sets to collect. Great addition to a person's collection. Even if you're not a Seahawks fan, if you're a general collector, those are great cards. Great cards to collect. I enjoy them.
Yeah,
Jason's got a great collection. I love his talking about Brady. A couple other Brady fans that I know, collectors, always say it's weird collecting them in the Bucs uniform, but they can deal with it and they can collect them, and they do. So that's a good part.
We all have to realize that with our favorite teams. I mean, he brought up, and I diverted the question, but Russell Wilson. What do you think of the Seahawks? And without Russell Wilson, it's tough. You're one of your favorite players, the class act, an intelligent guy, brought us a Super Bowl ring, shipped off to Denver. And time will tell, if he's Herschel Walker or, if, who knows? It's, it'll be tough. I mean, I hate seeing it go, but, at some point, anyways.
The way I look at it, I'm preparing for life after Rodgers, and the way I feel about it, and my feelings on it, for that kind of contract he got, they need to win the Super Bowl.
if they don't win the Super Bowl, to me the season's a failure. And, a lot of people come down on me and say, well, you can't say that, you can't say that. I said, no, I'm going to say that. You want to be the highest paid professional football player, then you better perform on the field, and you better not have another day like you had last season in the championship game where you look stunned and you got the deer in the headlight look again. And I've seen that way too many times with McCarthy when he was a coach. I saw it with Favre, and I'm seeing it with Rodgers and LaFleur. And I don't like it, and I'll say it. I'll criticize it. You want to be the best man, you want to be the highest paid, you better win. That's what it comes down to. No excuses. I don't hear any excuses this season. All right, we're almost out of time. Final thoughts, Joe.
Great show, great magazine. Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you. It's a work of art we try to put together 4 times a year. It's a lot of work. Brenda and I'm lucky Brenda does, my wife Brenda, in case you're not aware of it, does all the layout of the magazine. It's a lot of work, and we try to strive to be the best small publication out there when it comes to football memorabilia. We're out of time. Thanks for listening. We'll be back hopefully next week with another show. Take care.
Hey there, sports history fan. This is Arnie Chapman, a.k.a. the Football History Dude, and I wanted to thank you for stopping by to listen to another episode here on the Sports History Network. Our podcasters are passionate about uncovering and sharing sports stories from yesteryear. And if you didn't know it already, we have over 30 shows across the network covering all sorts of sports history topics. In fact, here's a glimpse into one of our awesome podcasts here on the network.
Each week, the official Football Learning Academy podcast will take you deep into the history of pro football through interviews with players, coaches, or administrators in the NFL, as well as interviews with Pro Football Hall of Fame selectors, authors, and historians. You'll learn how the game evolved and important moments that shaped the sport into what it is today. And don't miss the Pro Football History Nugget of the Week. Listen to the official Football Learning Academy podcast on the Sports History Network.
How about that? I bet you're super hyped to go listen to that new podcast, right? Well, to learn about this show and all the other podcasts on the network, head over to sportshistorynetwork.com/podcast. Again, that's sportshistorynetwork.com/podcast. Head over there today to find your next favorite sports history podcast.